Hey, it's Patti Scharf, CPA and co-founder of Catching Clouds, a leader in e-commerce accounting. Welcome back to another Saturday Slowdown, where I like to remind everybody to work on their business and not just in their business. All right, so as many of you know, I've been traveling around New Zealand. Now we're in Australia, and we've been out here for the last 3 to 4 months. We're not coming home until May, so another month and a half or so. And part of what we were doing when we were coming out here is we wanted to explore the accounting world. I know it sounds super exciting, but it's interesting to us. So we know that New Zealand and Australia have been light years ahead of the US when it comes to cloud accounting. They started closer to the early 2000s, whereas like Xero didn't come to the US until 2012, and QuickBooks Online was kind of garbage before Xero showed up. So we wanted to talk to other accountants and just kind of take the pulse of the different countries and see what kind of accounting trends they've got going on and see if they're the same or different than the US, and that's what prompted this video. So really I see 6 top kind of themes going on worldwide, and we're going to talk about those today. Okay, so the first topic I want to talk about is staffing, and specifically millennials. When I was talking to different accounting firms in New Zealand, a lot of people were telling me that they had a real struggle with millennials who were like the younger millennials, the ones who are just coming out of university, where they come out, they expect to be paid a whole bunch, they want to jump in and start doing advisory stuff, like within a year or two after actually doing accounting work. So when I was like coming up in accounting, the path was really you graduate, you go to a big 6 at the time, you kind of pay your dues, and over several years, maybe someday you'll become partner, or you get to like the manager level and you peel off and then go work in industry or something, and you pay your dues and you get your rewards at the end, right? And it seems like millennials are a little bit more impatient and they want to just like jump straight to advisory. And it's not that people don't want to train their team up and get them to those levels, but more that they don't yet have the experience. And so juggling the need for experience and the desire to be promoted quickly, it's just kind of a balancing act. It's a struggle for a lot of accounting firms in New Zealand, and I think it's kind of worldwide. I'm seeing this trend in the US. I see the trend in Australia as well. The second topic or trend that I'm seeing is around specialization or picking a niche. So in the US and in Australia, this is all the rage. Like there is incessant buzz around picking a niche, and I'm a big fan. We specialize in e-commerce accounting. We've been doing that since 2012. It's really been our only niche since 2014, and it's gone really well for us. So I'm a fan, and I recommend it to people. When we were at the Accounting Business Expo in Sydney this week, same thing. Like everywhere you could hear them talking about specialization and picking a niche. But when we went to New Zealand and we talked to some of the firms down there, they just thought, I think, we were a little bit crazy. Like, why would you do, there's so much competition, you have to serve everybody. So I actually don't think that you need too many clients to start building up a reputation as specializing in a particular industry or something like that. So I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it's absolutely the perception. So in New Zealand, nobody is specializing in stuff. They're just kind of doing the best they can. The other thing that we heard tons and tons of buzz about, this would be my third topic, is advisory. So everybody is noticing that compliance work is going away, or it's getting easier. And I'll talk about why that's getting easier in just a minute. But all that kind of data entry, automated kind of stuff is becoming automated, so that what clients really want and need is more advisory. They want to know how to keep them safe, how to keep their business secure, how to take their business into the future. And I think accountants historically have been very backward looking And I think that it's challenging for them to start looking into the future and helping clients navigate into the future. And so it's a really tricky concept, but everybody's talking about it everywhere. There is massive buzz around advisory, and I think part of the reason why there's massive buzz is because it's so hard to pinpoint exactly what that looks like. Like, everybody's talking about how to help their clients, and there are like tools to help you, but there's not a specific roadmap. When you're looking at learning accounting, does it reconcile? Do the debits equal the credits? Like, that's black and white, super easy to understand. Advisory is a little bit more subjective. It's a little bit more absolutely hands-on with the clients. You need to understand their hopes and wishes and dreams and fears and all that to kind of help guide them into the future. So that is absolutely where the industry is going, and we saw that in all 3 countries. The fourth trend that I'm seeing is around artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation. This is something that people started kind of buzzing about, I would say 2015, 2016, but it's really kind of hit a fevered pitch this year. I think I read that just last year, over $9 billion of venture capital funding was invested in artificial intelligence. I've also read reports where 40 or 60% of those AI companies actually have 0% AI in them currently. So I think that everybody's starting to realize what is possible, and they see the writing on the wall, but it's not here yet. This kind of machine learning and automation of basic accounting processes, this is what's going to allow firms to take advantage of the advisory part of their business. So as the day-to-day work gets easier and easier to do, it's going to free up time so that they can spend more time talking to their clients and helping them guide them into the future so that they're more successful and so that businesses don't have like a 50% failure rate in the first 5 years. So, great trend, lots and lots of buzz around this. And I'll tell you what is here today is a tool called Zapier. I actually did a video on this several months back. You might go check that out. And what it's doing is it's allowing firms to take one piece of software and a second piece of software and have a zap between the two. So if something happens over here, it causes a cascading effect in this other tool. And so firms are starting to really take advantage of that kind of software to create automation in their firm as kind of a stopgap until real artificial intelligence and machine learning is available to us. Okay, so speaking of technology and software and things like that, that brings us to our fifth trend, which is tech applications, like tech stack. So several years ago, like I would say 2000, in the early 2010s and stuff like that, all the leading firms, they were just trying to get their hands around which software was the best for their firm, which is the best accounts payable software, what's the best general ledger, what's the best this, that, or the other thing. And most of those apps were brand new to the market. There were tons and tons and tons of apps. I think several became kind of the clear best of breed solutions. I think over the years, there have been a few that have come up as the leaders in the space, like just for example, QuickBooks Online and Xero. If you're using a cloud accounting software, chances are it's going to be one of those two if you're in the US. If you're in New Zealand, 99% of the time it's going to be Xero. And if you're in Australia, MYOB, QuickBooks Online is actually making some headway, and Xero, they're all quite popular. And you're seeing that kind of across the board, where you're seeing 2 or 3 apps for every different feature really are becoming the leaders in the space. So like HubDoc, Receipt Bank, Auto Entry, maybe on the document fetching and workflow kind of side of things. Maybe ShareFile, SmartVault, Google Docs, Box on document storage. And what's happened is over those first like 5 years, from 2010 to 2015, a lot of accounting firms, they figured out what their tech stack was going to be. They were going to use Gusto for payroll and Bill.com for payables and whatever to build out their standard solution. And now they're using tools like Zapier to kind of make things a little bit more automated, or they're creating their own full-blown systems using like Asana and Pipedrive or Office 365 and the tools that they have in there. Like there was a session at the Accounting Business Expo in Sydney that had, they were showing us Office 365 using Flow and Power BI to create metrics and like a KPI dashboard and all that kind of stuff. So whether you're using Zapier or something like that, like people are starting to get really creative and they're focusing more on process than they are on specific apps. Whereas before they were like, which app solves my problem? Now people have kind of figured out which ones can solve their problem, and where there are gaps, they just kind of backfill it with automation to kind of streamline things and make things more efficient. All right, and the sixth trend that is getting a lot of buzz in the industry right now is outsourcing. And I'm talking specifically about overseas outsourcing. So like to India or the Philippines or something like that, where it just costs so much less to do compliance type stuff. This is a big deal. I would say in all three countries, New Zealand, Australia, and the US. I think that in both New Zealand and the US in particular, it has a little bit of a bad rep. I know that being from the US, I know more about that country, but there's like a lot of buzz about maybe the conditions, the working conditions and things in other countries where we don't necessarily have the same standards that we have in the US. And so it almost feels like we're taking advantage of another country or the people there. And it just kind of leaves a bad taste in some people's mouths. I think New Zealand is using it, based on what I've heard from other people. They're using it strategically. They're using it in a way that is really just a stopgap. Like it keeps them competitive price-wise with all the other competitors in New Zealand, all the other accounting firms. It keeps them competitive on a price point, but they're only using it until artificial intelligence really kicks in say 0, so that they fully expect that outsourcing piece will go away once the artificial intelligence will come up to speed and take care of that problem for them. I know in Australia it's a little bit more out and about. I know less about Australia, but I know when I was at the Accounting Business Expo, I was walking around and there was actually a booth there that was like, hey, send your overseas stuff to us. So I assume it's a little bit more like in the open in Australia and more acceptable. So so those are some of the different things that I've seen that are going on in our three countries. I said worldwide in the video, but it's not really worldwide. I'm sure that there are issues in the UK I haven't covered, or South Africa, or wherever. If you have other comments or you want to like mix and match and talk about what's going on in your country, please leave some comments down below. I would love to hear them. I'm super interested in that kind of stuff. So but that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.